G'day everyone, it's Aaron here from Guestys Adventures, and today we'll go quickly through our noble steed, the 2011 JK Wrangler. So I've owned the Jeep since 2011. I bought it brand new, and it's basically gone through multiple iterations of upgrade slowly to finally become what it is now. I run the ARB Deluxe Bull Bar. There's no other iterations like a Sahara or a commercial bar for the Jeep Wranglers like you do see for the Toyota Land Cruiser, some of the more common vehicles that ARB provide. So solely they come with the ring at the front, with the exception of the side bindings. Lights, I run the IPF 900 Extreme Sports halogens. I don't run HID. The remainder of the car is halogen as well, so there's no point of me going super bright white lights and then the cooler, warmer yellow that you see. I run just a basic winch with the swing gate number plate, 2,500 pound for that. And to be honest, I've only used it once in anger. And I'll put up a funny video now or a picture of where I have actually used that. It's never been used on the tracks. And then the remainder of up front, I've just got the standard GME antenna. Much like the front, I run the ARB rear bar at the back with the tyre carrier. They're actually separate entities. So when you're looking through the pricing manual, be sure to double it up. So realistically, any of the tyres that are bigger than an original factory fit for the Jeep Wranglers will require a tyre carrier because the door isn't rated even off-road for the standard tyre to be on there because it can physically pull the gate off. With that, I also run the Heyman Reese standard tow hitch, which also assists with the recovery. The thing I like about this bar is it looks standard with the lines, as well as coming with the high lift jack mounts, as well as the extra recovery points. And in the Heyman Reese tongue slip, I can actually add the fifth recovery point that the vehicle has with the two on the front already as well. I run a roller roof rack at the moment. I do want to upgrade that one eventually to the Rhino rack, which has more access to the front panels. So the Freedom panels, which are these two front slips here, basically like the sunroof for the Jeep. So in summer when we go down to the beach, I can actually get a little bit more usage out of it. I run the ARB 2-meter touring awning. To be perfectly honest, it's one of my favorite things on the vehicle because it's just so easy to pull out. This one is quite old now. It has basically withstood the test of time. It's now in that 9-year sort of bracket for it. I've flipped it onto the roof once, and that was literally summer this year, with only minor damage, but it has stood up the test of time. You can see the quality difference between those brands such as Kings and the cheaper products. The canvas is much better, and then the mounts and the struts on it are much better as well. So that's why I like that one. It's a little bit more than some of the others. If I was to do it again, I'd highly consider getting another ARB touring awning. They're a little bit thinner for the newer ones, but it would be that or something like the Super Peg or something like that, where you can actually put the angular piece strut in the middle to help assist with water. So the wheels that I run are the Cooper AT3 XLTs. They're a newer wheel, so it's a just shy of a 33-inch tire. And it's the third iteration that I've actually had on the vehicle. So they come standard with Goodyear Wranglers. I had some issues with those, which I will talk about later. So front end issues as well as a bit of delamination. Then I went into the Cooper Discover ST Max, which is the aggressive all-terrain that Cooper supply. I got about 70,000 kilometers out of those. They were very good off-road. On-road, lots of noise. As well as I had a little bit of scalloping, but once again, going to those issues later. These ones I've had on now for just shy of 30,000 kilometers. Off-road on the sand, amazing. On this sort of pea gravel stuff, what we find around the hills of WA, pretty good as well. some of that deeper mud. I find with these ones, you have the same sidewall as the ST Max on these, just with a lesser aggressive tread pattern. However, it's better on the road and sand for that, which is predominantly in summer is what I do. I do more fishing and stuff out of the beach than I do in the hills. In winter, I'm kind of in that lonely sort of period where I prefer to hike rather than four-wheel drive in winter, just because the car will bleed mud for 4.5 years afterwards, and it's just annoying. But good fun, obviously, while I'll do it. So I'll do like power lines and stuff in summer rather than damage stuff in winter because I've got to drive it to work. If I was to buy a new set of tires again right now, I would probably buy AT3s again for any of the vehicles that I drive off-road. So with the suspension that I'm running up front, it is the ARB Old Man Emu suspension upgrade kit that you can get through the ARB stores. Initially, I had it for basically a medium load all round. At that stage, I didn't have the rear tire carrier. I wasn't looking at that point of having the winch up front and all that extra weight. So medium up front, 150 constant load was what I started with, and it was great. It got to the point where, because I then put the winch into it, I got a little bit more sag at the front. And Jeeps often go around a little bit front end down, but so heavy now at the front. And at the rear, I've gone what's called an adaptive load. So it's a load carrying capability of between 150 and 300 kilos at any one time. So I'm running at about, realistically, 150 with the drawers that are in there, as well as the fridge. And then that extra limbo of 150 kilos will help out for our future plans now, which will be towing. So the ball weight of the vehicle is being factored into that 150, and then we can go from there. I personally really like it. You get a lot of flex out of it. There's a couple of little niggling issues, and obviously being a Jeep, you can get 1,000,001 different suspension kits and varieties, everything from Terraflex down. I've gone with something a bit more standard and stuck with a touring setup, which doesn't really happen very often for the Jeeps. They're either proper, let's chrome plate my rims and go mall crawling, or full on, let's go beadlocks and 45-inch tires and let's go proper rock crawling. I've gone touring. So the internals of the vehicle are relatively simple. I've kept it almost standard on the inside. I'm going around, so I've got a data scan tool that I like to run. I've had that in almost a year now. I put it in just before the hauling track. It's quite good. It helps me keep an eye on some of those key stats like the engine coolant temperatures, as well as a voltage, so from the alternator into the dual battery, which helps out just that peace of mind in the long run. I run a faceless GME radio, and once again, it's flawless. I really like it, and I'll probably buy another one because of it. Spotlights controllers down the bottom there on the left, and then I also run a CAN inverter. With regard to navigation, I just run a TomTom, and then I run the HEMA Explorer app through my phone and through the iPad for most of my planning of trips and stuff like that. I do generally prefer utilizing paper, but the iPad, as you can see here, realistically, it's good, but sometimes I do like to just have that tactile touching paper planning. So I do also run around with my paper books for planning purposes. Another thing that I run as well that is often forgotten, I do run a throttle controller. And to be perfectly honest, like I say, I almost forget about it. There's quite a fair bit of turbo lag with a diesel Jeep Wrangler. And the throttle controller is one of the cheaper ones, just Bluetooth controlled. And I keep it on the adaptive sport mode, which is sort of the middle level. There is the dynamic sort of race mode one, which, let's be perfectly honest, you don't need. It goes through, like if I accelerate right now while parked, the car will torque out and you can actually feel it jut about half a foot in the air. And it's like, I don't need that in a VM Motori 2.8 litre diesel because Alfa Romeo aren't the best known as making diesels. So, but the throttle controller, I really do like it. It's under the dash, it's hidden. You can't tell it's there. Would I get another one? Highly likely. So up back here, like I said, I am configured for the touring side of things. So I'm running a custom set of drawers. Honestly, the old man and I decided one day that we're going to do it, and I think it was $420 for some marine grade ply carpet and some fittings to basically whip them up on the weekend. Slightly stressful, but you know, they've worked for a while. They've got the wings over the side, and they do the trick, and they carry everything. So I got my recovery gear in one, and then sort of the bits and bobs kind of tools, some fluids in the other drawer setup. The fridge, I run the Waco. I think it's a 45 litre. It's one of the earlier varieties. Like I said, I've had it for 8 years. I think I got it one of those Father's Day specials, thanks to BCF, even though I don't have any kids. But it hasn't been an issue, with the exception of I didn't have a dual battery until about 6 months ago. So the dual battery is in now, and it runs fine. So it runs an internal VSR, which is the issue. So the car itself will provide the 12-volt feed to the rear outlet, and the fridge will automatically cut off when the starter battery is too low. That is great. That's a good thing. Sometimes I will deliberately go up to the fridge and turn the fridge back on, and then that will override the cycle for that VSR to actually register how many volts is in the starter battery. The starter battery is huge. It's like a truck battery, but it only runs 63 amps. So obviously we're running on about half of that. So we're on about 10 hours of use. So if you go any more than overnight, I used to take one of those little starter jump packs and honestly start myself every morning. So going into the dual battery system, you can see the dual battery box just there. It's got a number of outlet sockets, USB. It's got an Anderson plug to charge off the VSR straight off the battery, as well as I've now got a solar blanket that I'll either lie on the roof, windshield, or the deck somewhere to get some extra electrical sun jibbers into the car to top up the battery. 120 amp hour, it's more than I need. And to be honest, I really enjoy it. It's a kick-ass system. There's some of the cheaper systems that you can buy, but the actual batteries are quite decent quality and will last. The final thing that I have back here is my eBay special table, which is slowly becoming one of my more favorite things that I have on the vehicle now. So realistically, that simple. Can pull out the jet boil, cook up a coffee. So future plans for the Jeep, as alluded to. So getting rid of the roller roof rack so I can have access to the Freedom panels. So looking at that Rhino roof rack, which covers the flat top section there only. I need to get the tow package squared away. So I need to get an upgraded 12-pin plug to run. Surprisingly, we're now buying a Jayco Swift Outback caravan. So see what the Jeep actually tows like, which will be good. Another one of those sort of, not many people really like to tow with Jeeps in the first place, but they're only a light camper in anyway. So we're looking at maximum of 1,400 kilo, and they're capable of towing 2.3 tons. So well within our limits, well within the GVM. The car hasn't had any more of those tuning sort of modifications or anything like that, which are the issue when they do decide to grenade themselves. With regard to issues for the vehicle, I've had a fair chunk of issues, but like most people that own Jeeps, there's a certain point where after you've replaced everything, it's not really a Jeep, right? It's just the Jeep shell. So it's not quite that bad, but what we're looking at is I had what's called death wobble, and it's an issue related to the front end. You can YouTube some hilarious videos of cars literally trying to roll themselves. So at about 80 kilometers an hour, if you hit a bump, the front will come misaligned and the front wheels will decide to play a little dance while you're holding on for dear life on the inside. And there's two ways out of it. You can accelerate out of it like an idiot, or you can slow down, and it's kind of like dies down between about 30 kilometers an hour or stopping the vehicle, and it's hard to control. I won't go through the list of issues that causes it because there's about 9 of them, but it's fair enough to say I got to about number 7 of replacing that part prior to those issues disappearing, and that did include the delaminated Goodyear Wrangler tires that were initially on it, that were fantastic tires until that point in time. Other issues that we have, so it's a 2.8 litre VM Motori turbo diesel, so it's an Alfa Romeo engine. Not really renowned for reliability, especially in Australia. So I had this in Darwin for 2 years, and she was running hot. A lot of people go vented grills, vented bonnets, and that kind of stuff. I just drive it easier. I've not tuned it, like I said, and I haven't had any issues with regards to that. In the future, if I were to buy a Jeep again, would I get diesel? It's hard to say. So there's a multiple issues if I would go a diesel again. Um, Powerful, yes, it's just over 200 horsepower off the shelf. The issue that really is there is the cost that's associated with servicing. It's a 6-month service cycle or 10,000 kilometers, and it has to be done at the lower of the two because of basically the DPF that's in it as well, which is another issue in itself. The petrol, on the other hand, is a 20,000 or a 15,000, sorry. And then it will basically save me money because I don't drive enough kilometers on it. I only drive it about 15,000 a year. And if I drove it in sort of that 20,000 to 30,000 a year mark, I'd probably actually save more money. And you end up saving money versus cost versus servicing, depending which engine you have versus the economy that it actually is. Economically, it runs somewhere between about 8 and 12 litres per 100, which is fantastic. Like, it's really, really good. But when you're only driving a few 100K a week, it doesn't really become a huge issue straight away. Some of the other issues that I've had as well, the way that the exhaust system is constructed. So the catalytic converter sits square on the side of the engine, and that has broken 7 times and is $7,000 to replace. So not ideal. So covered on warranty, I think 6 times. The 7th time I got Jeep Australia involved, and they ended up repairing it under those new parts that were in, so under the ACCC, didn't actually last fair wear and tear for the vehicle. That has since been strengthened at an exhaust place, and at this stage I'm currently running on the longest period of time that part of the Jeep hasn't broken. The other issue that I have is when I was in Sydney, I was only driving about 5K to work at about 40 kilometers an hour. It's got a DPF that got blocked, didn't do the burnout as required. It started sooting up, and I was about, from what I've been told, about 2 inches away from getting that build up to get to the turbo, and cost me in the tens of thousands of dollars repair area. So lots of smoke coming out of the engine, and I stopped at just the right time. Other than that, she's really good. Off-road, fantastic. On-road, not so great, but it is a bigger vehicle, so I'm not too worried about that. Otherwise, I hope everyone's enjoyed this video and the walkthrough. This will hopefully be the first of many videos to come. I'll definitely do a walkthrough of the JK Swift Outback when we get it. The countdown is on, and I'm very excited, but it's going to take ages, obviously, with COVID and all that fun stuff coming from the east. But hope you enjoyed, and if you like it, please hit subscribe and like the video. Thanks, guys.